Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It is Monday and I'm delighted that you could join us and supporting us on our YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. In the studio with me, we've got Alan Rough, we've got Alison, McConnell and Barry Ferguson. We are going to talk title race. Have you got the bottle? Who'd be an old firm manager, this title race at the top swinging one way then the other. Is it advantage Celtic after Hearts' 2-1 win over Rangers yesterday? Well, certainly Steven Gerrard, the Rangers manager, thinks so.
I think before today's game, obviously Celtic are waiting for us to blink. Today we've blinked big time. I'm not sure there'll be too many blinks from now till the end. So we need to try and avoid that level of performance from now till the end of the season, otherwise we mightn't even be in a title race, never mind compete for the league. What's your take on this race now, Barry, after that result?
I've got to agree with Steven Gerrard. I think it's in the favour of Celtic. After the disappointing performance yesterday, I never seen it coming, if I'm being honest with you. It wasn't the Rangers the first half of the season, but you've got to give credit to Hearts. I thought Hearts were really at it. They looked as if they were a team that were desperate to start climbing that league, and they were first to every first and second ball, I've got to be honest with you. So a really disappointing day for Rangers in terms of performance, but again, Hearts for me thoroughly deserved the 3 points.
Yeah, just on that point, before we obviously heap praise on Hearts, give me your thoughts then on the third game that Morelos has missed has eventually cost Rangers.
I wouldn't say it's cost him, but he's a big miss, Peter. There's no doubt about it. But that's why you've got a big squad. You've got, for me, a fantastic backup in Jermaine Defoe. I know he's getting a bit older, but I still think he's a top quality striker. But missing Morelos, it definitely the Rangers team suffer. There's no doubt in my mind. He brings a lot more. And Defoe, he's probably more of a poacher, penalty box kind of striker. Morelos makes it difficult for centre-backs. He runs the channels, he's up for a fight, and also he can score goals. So yeah, it's disappointing that he's been missing, but also it's up to other players when not just Morelos, when other players are missing. I think Ryan Jack could be missing now for a couple of weeks. Up to should I say other players to step up.
Yeah, well, the manager questioned the bottle of his players and says if he had the chance, he'd maybe bring in 8 or 9 players on the evidence of that defeat. One of the players in question that Barry highlighted there, Jermaine Defoe, no doubt about his quality, and he really had a rallying cry for most of his teammates that it's a defeat, but it's not over.
Yeah, that's all you can do, to be honest. That's all you can do. You can't sort of lay down and die. You have to show character. It's football. It's a lot of pressure, you know. But at the end of the day, it's good pressure because you're playing for a club like this and the demands, you know, you have to win games and you have to achieve things and, you know, titles and trophies and stuff. So, yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, I feel like we're good enough to and strong enough to handle that sort of pressure.
Well, Alison, let's be positive about Hearts because so often when Celtic and Rangers suffer a defeat, you almost get criticised if you don't mention the job that Hearts put in yesterday. They were in the faces of every Rangers player. They battled. One element that I think was significant was Boyce's arrival. If you look at Celtic when they were the Invincibles, in that season, Boyce had scored 23 goals up at Ross County.
I thought he was excellent yesterday, took his goal very well, and I suppose what a way to announce yourself in terms of a new signing. I think Hearts have pushed the boat out financially to get him in, and I think when you bring in that wee bit of quality at times it can be telling. I thought they played very well. I think it would augur well between now and the end of the season, the fact that they have that kind of performance in them. Sometimes there's a criticism when you see a performance like that against either Celtic or Rangers that there's not a continuation of it. So I think if you're a Hearts fan, what you're looking now is to say it can't only be in isolation, that you need that to be sustained as they start to work their way up the table. But certainly I think getting key players back from injury, you've got John Souttar back, Stephen Naismith was back yesterday, you've got the addition of Boyce, you've got a new manager with a different playing style coming in. You would have to suggest that the portents are good between now and the next few months in terms of getting away from where they've been and maybe just dispelling some of the negativity that's been around the club.
Yeah, the manager certainly hopes this could be the catalyst for climbing the table.
I'm very happy that the player get success for your hard work in the last weeks, and it's time that we changed the situation in the table.
Well, as ever, when Hearts get the bit between their teeth, especially with a crowd behind them at Tynecastle, it can be intimidating. And the roof almost came off the place when the debutant Liam Boyce scored that goal, and even he enjoyed it.
Nah, it was unbelievable. Like as I've been saying, like I couldn't believe it when sort of the ball hit the net, like the noise and stuff. Like obviously you want to start well, but we sort of just got back in the game, and it sort of gave us that lift in the game. The Nezzy's goal, and yeah, it just fell to me, and my quad was actually a bit sore, so I didn't want to shoot with my right foot, so I cut back onto my left and it took a wee nick and went in the corner. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Never mind Liam Boyce, there are others there, Roughie, that, as Alison mentioned there, suggest that Hearts should now be looking to, first of all, go past Hamilton, St Mirren. I see them as a side, you know, if they can click and produce that performance week in, week out, they should be looking towards the end of the season top six. Yeah,
I think Alison's bang on. You know, Rangers got Hearts at the wrong time, you know, because before the weekend their Hearts have been poor, but everything fitted in with the players. Obviously, Alison said players coming back, Halkett and all them were very, very good. But I still think there's a long way to go. I think the likes of a rejuvenated Hearts, Hibs, Motherwell, Aberdeen are the teams that I'm looking at when Rangers and Celtic play them, that they might drop points. I can't see any of the others in the bottom six taking points off Rangers and Celtic. So if these teams get their act together, it could be a really exciting run in. Yeah, I think that's the point that's got to be emphasised here, Barry. I mean, it's a nonsense to suggest that both halves, you know, we're going to go all the way to the end of the season, you know, not dropping points. I think there's going to be a few twists and turns. Do you? Well,
I thought it would come down to the Old Firm games. I'll be honest with you. I think both teams are too strong on their day. Are too strong and too good for teams. But when you go to places like Tynecastle, Peter, you've got to expect them to be in your faces, and that was a disappointing thing from, I think, the manager's point, the fans and myself when I was watching the game. It looked as if they got out-fought in every single department, which I was surprised about because, as I said, the first half of the season I seen a steely determination for that Rangers team, and I didn't see it yesterday, which was surprising. OK, with that in mind then, Rangers slipped up. Can you see Celtic slipping up between now and the end of the season, Ali? Absolutely. I don't think anyone could say with any certainty that either of the two of them will go through and not drop any more points. Celtic were sticky for the first half against Ross County. There were chances for Ross County. If you take one of them, it's an entirely different game altogether, particularly I think at home, where supporters get very antsy about any chink of light for the opposition. I think it's far too early to be saying we won't drop any more points. What you can say is you can point to the evidence from the first half of the season which suggests a consistency on the part of both teams. Celtic were 10 points better off, Rangers were 12 points better off getting into the winter break, which suggests they were more consistent when where they had been last term. If they continue that, I agree. I think it will come down to the games between the two of them that will determine where the title goes, and that's still the case. Even after yesterday, that remains the case. Yeah, I mean, the Old Firm games are becoming ever more important, Roughie. For me, they are not, I think, the defining moment in this because, because of
the ever-improving other sides, and they're going to have to face top 6 sides who have got their own battles to fight. So I don't think it'll become as clear-cut as that. I still think Celtic will win the league by 6 points. And on the evidence of that, I'll back it up by saying the reason behind that is because I think they've got more to call on from the bench. Sorrow could come in. They've got Klimala. They're looking for a winger. Before that window closes, then suddenly you've got other players from the bench that can change games. That's where I think it could be significant. If Ryan Jack's out of the side, suddenly alarm bells. Tavernier comes back in. Morelos has got to come in and hit the ground running. All of these things favour a stronger squad in my view.
Yeah, well, that's what you're saying. You need players who are match winners, and I think on paper, I think Celtic have got more match winners than Rangers. I think the evidence was there at the weekend where Lee Griffiths, it wasn't happening for him, and all of a sudden they can take him off, put Edward on, and he wins the game. The difference with Rangers yesterday, if something had happened to Defoe, what was on that bench that was going to come on and win that game for Rangers up front? There was nothing there of any pedigree that we're talking about that Celtic have got.
And that brings me nicely to the point, Barry. Do you think by hook or by crook, somewhere in that background, that board should be meeting and saying, look, we've got to give him one more player, one face before this window closes at Ibrox?
I'm sure the manager would want that, Peter. I'm a big believer in when you're up near the top and you're challenging, that it's always the best time to go and strengthen your squad. Even if you do think it's a decent enough squad, it's always good or to get that 1 or 2 signings to come through the door, and then that's when the boys stand up and take notes and think the manager's no resting on his laurels. He's always looking to improve and strengthen, and I think Rangers will be over the next 3 or 4 days looking to try and do something if the board allow that to happen.
Yep, OK. Coming up, we're talking about 2 managers under a wee bit of pressure. Alec Dyer still searching for the first win for Kilmarnock since he arrived in the manager's chair. And elsewhere, Don's fans far from happy with Derek McInnes. We'll talk about that after we give you this week's quiz. So there you are, a chance to win yourself a prize as ever on the programme. Don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get lots of unique content. And of course, talking about games that are coming up and the ones that we've just witnessed over the weekend. Well, if we're talking about the race at the top end, I watched Motherwell against Hibs, and we were keeping a close eye on Sunday on St Mirren against Aberdeen, because there is a battle going on for 3rd and 4th place. I don't think I'll ever get the 90 minutes back from St Mirren against Aberdeen. It was rank rotten, Roughie. It's the only way I can sum it up.
Yeah, and it was surprising as well because there was a lot of players on show you would have thought a lot more of, but there was nothing. It was only bit chances here and there, and I'm sure the conditions never helped either, but I think the St Mirren manager would have been the only manager that would take anything out of that game, because it's another point away from the danger.
Yeah, and they could have actually snatched a win in that game. I say snatched, they played some really good football, St Mirren, at times, but overall the quality I thought was lacking.
I really like Jim Goodwin, actually. I think he's very organised. I like his approach. I think they try and play well. Also, you know, obviously their priorities to stay in the league, but I think they've got a wee bit about them. I quite fancy that they'll stay up, that they'll do enough to stay up this season. Yeah,
I share your view on that. Suddenly, Derek McInnes under pressure. Aberdeen fans, some calling for his head, some not having him. The wins have been few and far between, to be perfectly honest with you, over the last couple of months. But I am a big fan of Derek McInnes. You know, I know down here, the Rangers fans are not very keen on him because of what went on, but as far as Aberdeen up there, what's your take on it? Do you think it's time for a change? Has he reached the point where he can do no more up there?
Yeah, I watched the game, and it was a poor game of football, and Aberdeen just looked as if they didn't have any confidence. They need to get that first win, and I heard the boos after the game, which I read Derek's comments this morning that he was disappointed to hear that. But look, that's the way the Aberdeen fans are. They're very demanding up there. But for me, I still think Derek's an excellent manager, and I still believe that he's the right man for the job up there, Peter, because I do think he's done a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think there's any excuse, Roughie, for the way they played yesterday. I mean, Matty Kennedy came in, he likes the ball to feet. Niall McGinn likes it to feet. Lewis Ferguson can pick a great pass. He had a couple of defence-splitting passes in the game. Get the ball in the deck. Of course, there is that notion to throw it up there because Cosgrove is this tall, hustle and bustling type of striker, but football in the deck is where Aberdeen, I think, gained the most plaudits. I just couldn't understand the way they played.
Yeah, well, that's why I think they'll turn it round, because of the players that you've mentioned there. I think everybody has an off day. That was an off day for them. But as far as the Aberdeen supporters, I think they've just getting carried away a wee bit with Rangers not being anywhere to be seen in the last 2 or 3 years, and Aberdeen have been the ones that have been challenging Celtic and for a wee couple of times thinking they're going to do something. But now Rangers are now the second team, and now they're third, so they have to get their head round of it. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. So they now have to keep ahead, or try and get ahead of Motherwell.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say they're fourth now, and they want to retain, third spot if they can get ahead of Motherwell. But for me, Motherwell should have won the game against Hibs, Ali. That was another rotten game. I hate to say, I can only call it as I see it, because I was amazed that Hibs even would consider not playing Scott Allen in the middle of the park. They created nothing with him not on.
He's real creative, the only real source of creativity, I think, sometimes when you look at it, that they have. I read one of the comments earlier on, actually, in the Facebook Live, one of the Hibs fans saying that he hadn't been playing particularly well for a few weeks. I've not seen enough of Hibs to know, but sometimes I wonder if the break works the other way. You have the break and it's quite hard to come in and pick up the momentum again. When you look at Hibs and Motherwell on paper, it's a game where you would expect goals. Both teams have a commitment to playing a certain way. They've got a bit of energy about them, a wee bit of creativity about them. It's one of those where you wouldn't have expected it to be dull, for one. Yeah,
if you're trying to win a game, Barry, you get players that can change the game. For me, he's the man. The one thing that's lacking with Hibs is they don't have anybody to protect him when he's bombing forward. So, I mean, they're in for Paul McGinn from St Mirren, and it looks as if that move could maybe materialise before the window closes. But they need somebody to help him.
Yeah, it's a strange one. For me, even if Scott Allen's not in top form, he's still liable to produce a wee bit of magic on the pitch, and that's why I was surprised that he didn't start the game. For me, he's still got that bit of quality. He can produce, as I say, that final pass, a good link-up play with the forward. So it is surprising that Jack Ross didn't play him on Saturday.
Yep. Elsewhere, if you're going to leather the board, make sure you win the next game, Roughie. Tommy Wright managed to do that. I like Tommy, huge fan of him. Yeah. But, even he had a little bit of tongue-in-cheek in some of the interviews about it.
Yeah, he certainly had a bit of tongue-in-cheek with the board. He was back and fro, suggesting things, this and that, and questioning, whether he was making decisions or they were making the decisions. It was all sort of a tongue-in-cheek in the face of it, but I think he actually knew what he was doing. He was wanting some kind of reaction because he knows he needs players, but you could just see the joy in his face when they won the game, and he's 100% the manager of that club, and it was nice to see a manager getting a bit of relief for the pressure that he's under.
Yeah, Kelly are in free fall, 1 win in 10, and that was in the cup.
It shows you, doesn't it, that when you remove a real good manager from the helm, it can't always be sustained, even though you have the same playing squad. I think it underlines just how influential it is when you have a coach in there who can organise and who knows what they're doing, and then when they go, how quickly things can fall apart.
Yeah, elsewhere, it was Hamilton against Livingston. It was one of those games where, I would probably have avoided it like the plague as well. I'm not being very positive about the league this weekend, I have to say. But Hamilton against Livingston, that was game of the weekend. 6 goals. What more can you ask for, Barry?
Yeah, I'm the same. I thought that was a bit of a boring game, but 6 goals. And do you know what, Livingston, they keep surprising everybody. A lot of people think they're just a big physical team, get it up front pretty quickly, but they've got some good football players as well. So great result for Livingston. Gary Holt's doing a great job there.
Yeah, and that's backed up by the table. Have a look at it. You can see exactly where the teams are. Celtic now with a 5-point advantage. Rangers game in hand at home to St Johnstone. When that comes around, they will have to win that game. And the manager's thrown down the gauntlet for them. They've got to try and come out with all guns blazing. Roughie, Rangers against Ross County, St Johnstone, Celtic midweek games on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think the two of them should win these games. I think the evidence was there. I don't think they'll be sitting back now going saying let's try and get our best 11 on the park instead of rotating and get a steady side in there, because the other teams are picking up a wee bit, but certainly not for me at the weekend.
Yeah. What about your old mucker, Kenny Miller? It looks as if Wraith Rovers is his next destination. Is he? He's going to keep playing. He's like Stanley Matthews. He doesn't want to chuck it till he's 50.
I know. He's some boy, Kenny, 40-year-old. I thought maybe when he sorted the situation out with Partick, he was maybe going to hang the boots up. But look, he still probably feels it. He's got a bit to give and go down to League One. I don't know if he'll enjoy it as much, but you know what, fair play to him. Still looks fit for 40, so hopefully he'll sort something out soon.
Yep, okay. Thanks to our panel, Roughie, Alison and Barry. Barry here with us on a roller coaster again. It's been incredible, by the way. I mean, I just looked back at January of last year. I don't know if your heart can take this title race, Barry. Have you got the bottle to hang in this for the ups and downs?
I've got the bottle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the big question is, how many tellies is he going to get through throwing his phone at it if it doesn't go according to plan? Barry's here with us as ever Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Tomorrow, Darren Jackson and Hugh McDonald will be with me and Roughie to talk more football and look ahead to those games that we were talking about coming up on Wednesday involving Celtic and Rangers. Don't forget, across social media, on Twitter, give us your view. You can do it on Instagram as well, where you'll get all the world news, and over and above that, on Facebook Live. It's proving ever popular. Thank you to everyone for liking, sharing and following us on our Facebook page. But YouTube, 5:30, and if you can't get it at 5:30, you can watch it at your leisure on YouTube. Subscribe and you'll get all the notifications. So with that in mind, thanks to Roughie, thanks to Alison, thanks to Barry Ferguson, from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.